Welcome to Bible in the Backyard. Here we are in chapter 14 in the book of Deuteronomy. And in this chapter we have, among other laws, the laws governing mourning. And we're told in this chapter that there's a certain element of holiness to the mourning process, right? Israelites cannot disfigure themselves in any way in the process of mourning. Their mourning rites can't be overly extreme. And kind of looking at it is a bit problematic, because if mourning is ultimately a personal experience, why do we have these limitations on what might be actually just a personal expression of mourning? To sense that that's kind of governed within constraints takes away in some regard to the humanized personal element of suffering a loss.
Yeah, so first of all, I think that's right. I mean, I think that's just a dilemma and a dichotomy that we have in religious law about especially life cycle events. That is an unavoidable dilemma. And this is still true, right? We have laws of Avilut, laws of mourning, putting aside the prohibition of gashing and things, but the structure of mourning, which makes good sense in principle, and we could talk about how well thought out it is and how attuned it is to the normal psychology of humans. At the same time, it doesn't allow for a lot of individual variation, and that sometimes runs up against real problems where a family, maybe in unique circumstances, wants to do more or less, and it's an unavoidable dilemma, I think, if we're going to have such laws. As for the prohibitions on the sort of extreme mourning, I think there's two ways of going about it. So one approach is to historicize it. A lot of these things we know are associated with idolatrous worship. I mean, from a biblical perspective, idolatrous worship of other gods. We have references to people gashing themselves. There's mourning for the god Dumuzi or Tammuz, who dies every year, and people gash themselves and rip out their hair. So those associations are probably part of the fear of allowing such practices. But there's also a nice idea that Abarbanel, 15th century, says, which is that one need not be so extreme. The Torah says one need not be so extreme because a Jewish mourner is never fully alone. Even in loss of their parents, they have God as a parental figure. Again, that gets us back to our original dilemma. If I don't feel that way, then I'm not going to like that explanation. But it's at least an attempt to give some.
And it also fits thematically with the religious, right? The sense of relational, the relationship between God and Israelite, and how that love has to kind of be at the fore. So it's the other side of the Ve'ahavta is, okay, well, when you're mourning, you're not totally alone, because if you lose a parent, you always have God as your parent.
That's fair. Yeah, good point. Thank you.